Welcome, food travelers. I'm Micah.
And I'm Simon.
As we continue our trip here in Houston, we head over to our next barbecue spot here in Pinkerton. Pinkerton BBQ has always been one of the barbecue spots I've wanted to try ever since I've got into barbecue food and smoking brisket on my own.
Yeah, Micah, after going through all the kind of articles going through about different barbecue places in Houston, Pinkerton was one of those places that always popped up about being one of the best in Texas. And after being here, I definitely agree.
Yeah, in Pinkerton, we actually got here about 15 to 20 minutes early, so there wasn't a huge line. We were one of the first to go inside and get our food.
Yeah, but once we actually ordered our food, that line really did pack up and the place definitely got filled. And like with many barbecue places that are super popular in Texas, you do want to line up as early as you can because once they sell out of all the food, it's gone for the day.
Yeah, I agree, Simon. We were really lucky. We did definitely plan our schedule really well here. Getting our food, getting our seats. When we were leaving, that line was really long. Parking lot was packed.
And they do open at 11 a.m. and they're open until they pretty much sell out, which usually is about a few hours into the day.
And for me, I ordered the pulled pork, brisket, and the turkey, and also the blueberry cobbler.
And for what I ordered was actually two kinds of ribs. I had the beef rib, which you have to order in 1 pound quantities or more. And then I also had pork ribs, and the last thing I had was also the dessert, which is a must, which is the blueberry cobbler.
And we were really lucky here that they did offer that beef rib, as most places in Houston only offer beef rib on the weekend only.
Yeah, it's not a daily thing for most places. They usually just offer it a few days a week or on the weekends because it takes so much time to make that. So definitely something that I really wanted to try was those beef ribs, which did not disappoint me at all.
That pulled pork that I ordered was a real delightful dish. There was so much smoke flavor into it, and with all Texas style barbecue, it's just all salt and pepper. So they really did a really great job getting those flavors out of those meats there.
And as you can see from all their meats, you have a nice bark on the outside and a nice smoke ring that kind of encapsulate the meat on the inside, which makes for a great barbecue. The pork ribs and the beef ribs are some of the best I've ever had, and I definitely would like to come back and eat at Pinkerton again. I really enjoyed the smoky flavors, the spices they put, which Micah mentioned earlier, are nice and simple, but just you get that enhanced flavor of the meat, and you get to taste how great that meat is with just those simple seasonings.
That blueberry cobbler that we had here, it was really good. That crust was so crispy and just so delightful. It was just that flavor. It was just the right amount of sweetness to it. I really enjoyed that.
I really agree too, Micah. That was one of my favorite blueberry cobblers I've ever had. Pretty much, I really enjoyed here. And one of the things I also really thought was cool was the owners actually came out and they gave us permission to go into the kitchen and actually film different things and to kind of see how the daily operation goes for making their great barbecue.
Yeah, I agree, Simon. I thought that was the coolest part was getting invited back to the kitchen, seeing their operation, and seeing how they're all closed pits and how one of the pits is just mainly for the brisket and the other pits are for the other remainder meats. It's also really interesting to see how they don't use very much logs to fire up the pits, just how much heat is just from those few logs on its own.
Yeah, it was interesting. In the back part of this kitchen, they actually do have this stack of logs, and there's a lot, but as you kind of go in and you watch them actually cook the meats, the amount of logs that they actually use while they're cooking is not as much as you would think, or at least not as much as I've seen other places use. But definitely Pinkerton is one of the best. It's somewhere, it's a barbecue place that you definitely don't want to miss. Top 3, if not the number 1 spot, depending on, of course, your tastes.
Yeah, I agree, Simon. I would definitely fly back to Houston just for Pinkerton barbecue.
Yep, and I'm right there with you. After we had lunch at Pinkerton, we headed over to the park to work off all that food and barbecue we had.
Yeah, we headed over to see that Sam Houston monument. It's pretty cool to look at. It's right in the center of the roundabout where cars could just drive up and go around it.
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting monument, and as everybody knows that, or at least guessed that it was actually Sam Houston who the city was actually named after.
So we headed over to Flying Saucer Pie Company, where we got their seasonal pumpkin pie. As you can see here in the video, there's no place to sit, buy it to go type of place. So we headed over to the San Jacinto Museum of History to eat our pies.
Yeah, with anything seasonal, it's something we always like to choose. So we ended up getting the pumpkin pie because it's October and Halloween was around the corner.
Yeah, as you see with the pumpkin pie, it does have a lot of whipped cream on it, which is something I appreciate them for doing. But I do wish that they would have had the option to add a scoop of vanilla ice cream instead.
I agree. I did enjoy the whipped cream. That was one of the highlights of the pie. One of the things I kind of wish was, at least for my flavor profile, is to add a little bit more nutmeg or cinnamon to kind of make it a little stronger. I enjoy those bolder flavors that kind of pop out, and for me, it was just a little bit on the weaker side.
Yeah, I agree, Simon. I kind of wish there was more pumpkin flavor to it. It was on the weaker side for sure. So after some pie, we headed over to the bar called La Carafe. It is one of the oldest bars in all of Houston. It's known to be a haunted bar. People do say they see a lot of paranormal activities at this bar. It is also cash only, so if you do end up coming here, make sure to bring some cash.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting bar. You can see how the history in the bar, kind of looking around when we went in. Unfortunately, we didn't see any paranormal activity happen, but from what I was told, it generally occurs upstairs on the second floor, but we were not able to go there as it was closed at the time.
Yeah, and you can see here there is a news article once you enter the bar on the right. It talks about Gladys. The big painting here in this video is Gladys herself. It is told that she does come visit the bar ever so often. There are lots of paintings and pictures here. I don't know who those people are, but I'm assuming that those guys also come visit the bar.
And when we were here, we actually just grabbed a couple of ciders. It was a hot day, and we came back from the monument, and we just wanted to cool down and kind of relax and refresh a little bit. Kind of odd, I know, going to a haunted bar to kind of relax, but it worked.
Because it's such a historic bar, they did have a lot of historic items, such as a jukebox, something I haven't seen in years to see a jukebox. The jukebox was playing music in and out. Some people say, hey, it could be a ghost playing it, but I feel like it could just be on demo.
And I cooled down with the crackberry cider, which is a nice mix. It was refreshing, different flavors of fruits, and overall just great.
Yeah, I also had just a cider myself too. I personally like ciders. I think it's a great time cool off and be refreshed with a cider. There was nothing that stood out about the cider itself. It was refreshing. It was nice. It was on the dry side. It's not too sweet. And after the bar, we headed over to the Sawyer Yards. Sawyer Yards is known for all their art exhibition, all the arts by all the local artists. I have read that the Sawyer Yards used to be really large, multiple yards combined, but now it's all condensed into just one section. What I really liked about this art exhibition is that it's self-guided and it's free to enter. As you can see, there's many different art pieces, both paintings and art pieces that people have created. It is right next to the railroad, so you do see a train go by ever so often, and it can be a little bit noisy, but it's pretty nice inside with the air conditioning being such a hot day.
And to finish off the night, we went to go have dinner at Shabu Zone.
Yeah, Shabu Zone is a self-serve buffet style. They do have many different options. There's the meat section, the seafood section. They do have fresh fruits, and they have a sauce section as well as an ice cream section for dessert.
Yeah, it's an all-you-can-eat buffet type hot pot. And what you do is you go have your seat, they'll drop off the broth in which you choose, and then you pretty much head out to the buffet section and grab all the different meats, vegetables, seafood, whatever it is you want to stick into your hot pot.
One thing to note that any type of meats like the beef or the pork belly here, you do have to order that directly from your server. It isn't something you can just grab off from the self-serve buffet section.
And something you want to note is that if you do order one of those meat plates and you don't finish it, they actually charge you an extra fee for not actually eating or using that plate up. So make sure that when you do order just enough that you can eat it all and not have any leftovers, or else you'll get charged that fee.
Yeah, and this section here, we did eat a lot of mushroom. The enoki mushroom is one of my go-to items whenever I go for a hot pot. I think it's one of the best things that they had. I was kind of disappointed with their seafood option. I really wanted to eat the crab. When I put the crab meat inside, it kind of just melted. I don't know what happened to my meat.
I was the same here with Micah. The mushrooms are really great. I always enjoy having that with any hot pot that I have. I wasn't too impressed with the place. It's not that I was expecting so much, as it is a all-you-can-eat buffet. However, the broth, it was pretty weak of what I got, and they say as you put in different meats and different items into the broth, it'll flavor the broth up. But I found that it just kind of stayed pretty consistent, the same, and pretty weak and bland. So I wish there was a much more flavorful broth that they provided.
Yeah, and to emphasize, bland is the word of the day here, guys, here at the Shabu Zone. That broth was very bland, and it was kind of disappointing on that. I really did wish the more meats and seafood I put in there would be more flavor. I usually like drinking the broth after I'm done with the hot pot, but there's not much flavor to taste.
Yeah, there's nothing spectacular about the place that I knew. If it's a place you want to go to, pretty much fill up your belly with different things, different seafoods, and then different meats and vegetables, then yeah, you can go and do it. It wouldn't be a place that I recommend for the best hot pot or something that's a little extra. So, in this case, it was kind of a disappointing night for me, but it wasn't. Not that I had too much expectation, but it is what it is.
Well, one advantage they do have is the large parking lot. So there is free parking. There's plenty of parking space. If you're looking for a cheap date, this would be the place. And as bland as it goes, the sweet tea that we ordered as a drink, there really wasn't very much flavor of anything there. It was just like a cold drink.
And if you guys want to support the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe.
So what do you do in this situation? When the hot pot is so bland, do you add just more soy sauce or do you add sesame oil?
Yeah, let us know your tricks to kind of spicing things up if it's not quite to what you think it should be.
And with all our videos, we always end with our notables. And this notable is the blueberry cobbler. I thought the blueberry cobbler was the right amount of sweetness to it. It was not overpowering. There was right amount of blueberries to it. The blueberry cobbler crust was really crispy. I wish I could share the sound with you. From the crispiness of the crust, you could just put the fork down and the crust would just crumble. It's not overly done or anything. Unlike some places where you could put down a little bit of pressure and it would not just crumble, this was done perfectly. It was fresh out of the oven and everything was just hot and moist.
For my notable, it was also from Pinkerton, and those were the beef and pork ribs. Masterly crafted by the pit master. These are two very juicy, tasty, delicious ribs that are tender, fall off the bone, soft and juicy. Something that I definitely recommend eating, and make sure when you go to Pinkerton to have an appetite, as you will be eating a lot of great meats. I highly recommend coming over to this place and getting barbecue if you are in Houston.
For my notable, I had the pulled pork from Pinkerton BBQ. The pulled pork was really smoky. It was really juicy, kind of like just melts in your mouth. Tenderness to it, has so much flavor just from the seasoning of salt and pepper. I thought it was perfect. I haven't had any type of pulled pork as tender as this.
If you've enjoyed the content you've seen, don't forget to support the channel and hit like and subscribe. And if you want to see additional pictures of food and our travels, go over to our Instagram page and follow us there. And thanks for watching.